The moment she walked in, they laughed at her kill count. 0, right? One recruit said, his voice loud enough for everyone to hear. Another one smirked, leaning back in his chair. Or is it classified because it's imaginary? The classroom, filled with fresh recruits, buzzing with untested confidence, erupted in laughter. Boots tapped against the floor. Someone coughed to hide a grin. But she didn't react. The woman just stood there at the front of the briefing room, a silent figure in plain fatigues. No unit patch anyone recognized. No medals pinned to her chest. Her hair was pulled back tight, and her hands were clasped calmly behind her back. The instructor, a seasoned man who should have known better, didn't stop them. And that made it worse. One recruit, bolder than the rest, pushed his chair back. So what are you, ma'am? Paper pusher, instructor's pet. More laughter followed. This was a room full of loud voices and puffed-out chests. The kind that came from never truly being tested, from never facing a real threat. She looked at them, her gaze sweeping across their faces. Not offended, not defensive, just silent. Finally, the instructor cleared his throat. All right, that's enough. But the dam had already broken. Come on, another recruit chimed in. They don't send real operators to talk to us. Especially not like this. A few others nodded in agreement. A whisper, sharp and clear, cut through the low murmur. Probably never even seen combat. She heard it. Of course, she heard it. But she said nothing. Her silence seemed to make them bolder, like they were poking a creature they assumed was harmless. The first recruit who had spoken, now fueled by the room's energy, leaned forward. Hey, he said, a challenging glint in his eye. Since we're all being honest, what's your kill count? The room went instantly quiet. This wasn't just curiosity anymore. It was a direct challenge, a gauntlet thrown down in a room thick with testosterone. She didn't answer. Instead, she stepped calmly to the side of the room and picked up a small, dark tablet that was resting on a desk. She turned it on. The screen glowed with a soft, blue light. The recruits exchanged confused, arrogant looks. The instructor, however, suddenly stiffened. She tapped the screen just once. A soft, electronic tone filled the room, almost melodic. And then, the door at the back of the briefing room opened. Heavy footsteps followed. Slow, measured, deliberate. At first, no one turned. They were too focused on the woman at the front. But then one recruit glanced back, and his eyes went wide. A full-bird colonel walked in. His uniform was crisp, his posture ramrod straight. Instantly, every recruit scrambled to their feet, chairs scraping against the floor as they snapped to attention. But the colonel didn't look at them. He didn't even glance at the instructor. His eyes went straight to her. He stopped 3 steps away, his boots clicking on the floor, and then he saluted. Sharp, precise, without a flicker of hesitation. "Good morning, Major," he said, his voice a low, gravelly tone that commanded respect. The air was sucked out of the room. "Major," she returned the salute with the same calm, controlled precision. "At ease," she said, her voice quiet but carrying an undeniable weight of authority. The colonel turned to the instructor. "Proceed." The recruits sat back down, but they moved slowly, cautiously. Their faces were tight, their eyes locked forward. The smirks were gone, replaced by a dawning sense of dread. She walked back to the front of the room. "You asked about my kill count," she said. There was no anger in her voice, no pride, just a simple statement of fact. She tapped the tablet again. A classified clearance screen flashed for a brief moment before the device locked. "I don't keep a number," she continued, her gaze steady. "Numbers are for reports, not for memories." A collective swallow moved through the silent room. One recruit's hands clenched into tight fists on his knees. She looked directly at the one who had asked the question, the one who had started it all. "You're training to react fast," she said. "To talk loud, to dominate the space around you." She paused, letting the words hang in the air. "That gets people killed." No one laughed now. The instructor stared intently at the floor, as if he could find a hole to disappear into. She began to pace, each step slow and deliberate. "You think experience announces itself with medals and war stories," she said, her voice even. "It doesn't." She stopped, turning to face them again. "Experience watches, it listens, it waits." She gave a single, almost imperceptible nod to the colonel. He stepped forward. "Major Carter is here as part of a classified evaluation," he announced, his voice booming in the quiet room. "She's been embedded with 3 joint command units, 2 of which don't officially exist." The recruits didn't move. They barely seemed to breathe. "She's not here to impress you," the colonel continued, his tone like granite. "She's here to decide who's ready." Silence, heavy and absolute, pressed in on them. Major Carter faced them again. "You joked," she said. "That's fine. I get it." Then her eyes hardened just slightly, a flicker of steel. "But you didn't listen. You saw what you wanted to see." She turned her head, her gaze locking onto the recruit who had mocked her first. "You wanted a number," she said. She leaned forward just enough for him to feel the shift in the air, a sudden drop in temperature. "The last time someone asked me that," she said, her voice dropping to a near whisper, "they didn't get to ask a second question." The room froze. No one dared to breathe. Time itself seemed to stop. Then she straightened up, the moment broken. "Class dismissed," she said. The colonel opened the door for her. As she walked out, not a single recruit looked up. The laughter from just a few minutes ago now seemed like a distant, embarrassing memory from a lifetime ago. It felt small, pathetic. After the door clicked shut, the instructor finally spoke, his voice strained. "You just met the standard," he said, his gaze sweeping over their pale faces. "Whether any of you can meet it, well, that's up to you." No one answered, because in that suffocating silence, they all finally understood something profound. True power doesn't need to brag. It doesn't need to shout. The most dangerous people in the world are the ones who don't have to raise their voices at all. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more.